welcome back, yo, dear friends of good music and metal, obviously. I'm Jill, back again with my good friend Daniel, the metal inspector. Welcome back. How are you? First of all,
I'm doing great.
You're on vacation. I can
Yes,
tell. I
that
can tell.
is an awesome feeling.
Yeah, unlucky me. I have to wait a bit more for that. But yeah, that's not why we're here. We could talk about our vacation though, but it would be very boring because we like to chill out. At least me, I like to hang out and relax a bit more.
Oh, well, I got things to do at home, so
Yeah,
it's
usually we
as
all,
exciting as it sounds.
I mean, it's better than work. Let's be honest.
Absolutely, yes.
So in any case, we are back today with an uncovered episode, and when we were talking about what topic we would choose for this uncovered episode, we were a bit unsure, first of all, because we had several bands on the list that we wanted to do or will do in the future, definitely. And then we stumbled upon a band or one-woman project from Norway, Sylvaine. As you know, pretty well-known by now, at least with the latest album, Nova. She really pierced through a bit more with the record, and it showed a bit more, emotional side of what she can provide musically. And so we thought, okay, let's talk about Sylvaine, but not like the typical I will ask you stuff, but basically we will try to convince you, and Daniel will try to convince me, even though there's no need for it, because I like Sylvaine as well. We will try to convince you why we should listen to Sylvaine and why she is maybe one of the best of her genre out there. So yeah, why do you think? Well, first of all, why do you like Sylvaine as much as you do?
Well, I wanted to actually, if I wanted to convince somebody to check out Sylvaine, or I would actually ask you the question if you like something like Alcest, and if you're in the affirmative, then that's it. Then we don't need to discuss any further.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, if they say you didn't know Alcest or anything similar to Alcest and you were completely new, you would have to dive into like how music resonates with you as a person. How it might trigger certain emotions, maybe feelings of longing or nostalgia. When you like Sylvaine, it's like you do show a side of your own personality. If you are if you listen to music to have fun, just for that, or if you like metal and you just want to headbang and be dirty and wild and all of that, this is not for you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
There's loads
I
of
need to agree with
alternatives,
that, yeah.
probably too many. But Sylvaine is for people that are often a bit more introverted, that may not show so much of their own emotional states. But when they listen to music, maybe those emotions can come out.
They do, yeah.
And if you are like earthed like this, then Sylvaine is definitely something you should check out.
I mean, with that said, I think we can already close the episode because no, we are not done yet. But I need to agree with you on that because personally, yes, I am definitely an introvert, and sometimes, yes, it is very difficult to explain what is going on in your head or in your heart or wherever, and very often music helps with that. And for me personally, yes, I know Alcest. For those out there who don't know Alcest, it's a French black gaze kind of shoegazy kind of band, duo basically, and they've done some great records. I had Kodama on my favorite records of all time list, so just saying, it's a really talented band, and they know how to pierce through your shell and touch you in certain parts, even though that sounds pretty wrong. But they know how to trigger.
Yeah, that sounded just very weird. Okay.
Yes, it does. But I mean, it's the truth. They achieve something with their either lyrics or music that is not for every metalhead. That's for sure. But for me personally, I discovered Sylvaine through a split she did with, I think it's an American or Canadian band, Unrequited. I think they're from Canada. I might be mistaken here. But in any case, she did a split with them, and that already was something out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. So, and back in the days when I discovered her and Unrequited, I mean, I obviously I listened to a lot of headbanging stuff. Metalcore was the music of the day back then, and then I stumbled upon this, and I was like, oh, no, this is way too slow for me. So I left it aside, and I never came back basically until a particular day. I just decided to go through my discography, and yeah, I just got hooked onto that. And then I checked out the rest of Sylvaine, and to be fair, I again lost track until last year, 2022, when her latest record, Nova, came out. And I mean, that's a statement. Nova is a statement.
Absolutely, yeah.
For introverts and for people who like to dream and get carried away on certain emotional waves, so to speak.
Yeah, I was like, one question you could ask here is Sylvaine actually metal? In a way, of course, it is. There's of course distorted guitars, but for most of her music is actually beautiful. It's sad in a way, melancholic, and she has this angelic voice.
Yeah, ethereal kind of.
Ethereal, that's the word.
Yeah, yeah.
And the voice is really the most important instrument in her repertoire. She does play guitar, she does the bass, she actually does, apart from the drums, everything.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to the drums later. And she suddenly, well, I described it like this. So if you think like, okay, we're going to be on the sea, and if you had something like technical death metal on the sea, it would feel like a storm with lots of waves, and you would get drowned in it, and you would probably die. But if you listen to Sylvaine on the sea, it would be very quiet waters, a lot of mist, and then you would hear this beautiful voice coming like a wisp through that mist, almost like a little bit like a Lord of the Rings
to you,
kind of atmosphere with the elves or so. And then once she changes her voice to her screams, it becomes really dark. It has a very strong contrast in the music, because her screams are very high pitched.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, when I first heard Sylvaine, it was in the third album, Atoms Align Coming Undone. They surprised me. Like, okay, this is what is this? It was at the beginning a bit too high for me.
Yeah.
That was my first reaction, but I slowly got used to it, and I really loved that switch from angelic to screaming, to these lightning bolt screams.
Yeah, personally, for me, the screams, even on Nova, the first time I heard Nova, and there was, I think it's Fought Up, the song, her screaming put me off. And it was like, oh, wait, oh no, I prefer the angelic part and the green kind of voice. And the more you listen to it, the more you get why she does it, and the more the contrast shows way more why she does it that way. So I think by now definitely I really enjoy it, because again I compared it maybe a bit too much with Alcest, because I knew Alcest before. And Nej also has this similar vibe of how to portray his voice. This very clean, very ethereal, very kind of backgroundy kind of vocal layer, and then suddenly his scream is coming in. Not as high pitched though, but yes, I had to compare it with something like we usually do when we listen to new things. And just to let people know, Nova was on my list. Again, number 4 on my top 10 list of 2022, with a reason, because again, I can't explain why, but it somehow makes sense the way she screams, even though for some people definitely it's off-putting.
It's a cathartic thing.
Yeah.
And so you could describe her music, actually every album, she has 4 albums in total, it's like a bit of like an audio diary. So she kind of portrays her emotional state at that time, and that is not just a state of pure happiness, but she describes more feelings of loss, desolation,
emo stuff.
Emo,
so to speak. The stuff that gets.
But there's also there's a very dreamy atmosphere.
Yeah.
In the whole thing, and then once she uses the screams, it's like when it kind of coming out.
Yeah, it's like a let go.
Let
your emotions go and take you.
And I think she's you see this especially on Nova. Where it works the best, because it kind of builds up, the music intensifies, there's more layers, the guitars get a bit more intense, the drumming might get a bit more intense, but it's very subtle.
Yeah.
And then once she uses the screams, it really is meant to do that at that moment.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting
Anything
part,
else would just drag the song unnecessarily. And she had a perfect balance on Nova with that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the way you explained it, because personally, I think there's a certain innocence to her. I mean, to her style or to her music, until that particular moment when she lets loose. Then this small, little, nice-looking, lovely lady is suddenly becoming who are you? Yeah. So it really shows that there has to be, obviously. Sometimes there has to, or there is certain ways of portraying emotions. It can be very soft, like very dreamlike, or very heavy in that case. And even though we asked the question before, is it even metal or not? I think it is still definitely metal because of that reason. Because what is metal to begin with? Metal is a statement for people who have stuff to say. Either good things or bad things, and in that case, I think she fits in the metal genre, even though it's definitely not for everybody. But you introverted out there, I think you will enjoy Sylvaine, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. I would say there is a certain sense of fragility and even honesty in the music. Yeah. By being so open with your emotions. There was one review that I read about their second album, Wistful. And it was on Angry Metal Guy. And usually Angry Metal Guy, they're very strict in their reviews. I'm a little bit more generous. And the reviewer wrote that when he listened to, I think it's a he, to Wistful, it didn't really do anything. They're like, this keeps dragging on, it's nice, but And then he was listening to it while flipping through old photos, getting nostalgic. And that's when the connection with the music really set in. Yeah. And that's how it just kind of got lost in the music. Also gave a great review about the album in the end because of that. Yeah. And that is something fairly rare. I sometimes have moments where I feel kind of down, or I'm lost in my thoughts. And I didn't listen to Sylvaine, especially to Nova. I had it in 2022. Was a bit of a difficult year for me personally. And every time I listened to Nova, it gave me some form of comfort. I really felt better. Yeah, like I took a happiness pill. Even though the music is melancholic, sorrowful, and everything is kind of written in, in minor key. Yeah. It's not meant to be uplifting. But I find... But it is typical for that particular... Last time we talked about weirdly uplifting. And yes, it is weirdly uplifting again. Exactly, yeah. I personally, I have similar records that I know, for example, if I go for a walk in the forest by myself, I know exactly what record I would put on. Is it a good record? Not necessarily, but it somehow connects to something I
that is stuck in my head, and it just comes out at that particular moment. And it can be photo albums. I mean, that's a really good example, actually. I should do that maybe more often. Maybe I would connect with different records even more as I am by now. But I mean, for me, it is again, if I go to the forest, it sounds a bit cheesy though, even though again it's not a great record, but for some reason I need to listen to Winter Sun, the Forest Seasons.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah. I mean, yes, as you may know, I'm a big fan, even though for reasons that we will not discuss today. There's stuff going on in this band that I do not agree with, but nonetheless, there are some songs on that particular record that touch me in a similar way, as Sylvaine probably did for you. And metal is not. I mean, we know that. People who listen to us know that, but does metal have to be angry all the time, or can it be, again, weirdly uplifting?
It should be, because metal allows you to say things, as you said, to express yourself.
Yeah.
And that can always entail that element, there's light at the tunnel. One thing that resonated very well with me when it comes to Nova is what is Nova? Nova is a new star.
Yeah.
And so the album predominantly deals with loss, but also with overcoming. So when you see the album cover, you see her in a fetal position. Actually, she's naked on the cover, but it's not in an erotic way. It's it's very bright, and then the background is black, and it represents, so you go through these tough moments, and they will drag you down, and they will let you feel that you're actually alive, and you can, however, come out of it reborn in a way. Refreshed, or I think
reborn
sounds a bit cheesy. Refreshed, or just.
But if you look at the record,
you've grown in a way.
Yeah, but as you say, if you look at the cover, I got the same message. Okay, this is not necessarily a rebirth for Sylvaine, because very often bands like to do that. There's a new era beginning, and all this. I wouldn't say BS, but close to BS. So I think the cover definitely showed that, okay, this is not only for Sylvaine, she wrote it definitely for her, but for everybody else who is listening to it. And there is a certain acceptance on the record that shows, like, accepting that things are not obviously great all the time. Things can get better, but don't have to. And in any case, you will get more matured in a way. And at the end, I mean, the record cover shows that at the end, not at the beginning, but at the end of the record, you start again, so to speak.
The last song on the album is called "Everything Must Come to an End," and it's beautifully sad.
Yeah,
and I mean, you could play this. You could play this at a funeral. It would, I guess, tear people down a little bit more, but I think it would fit very nicely. The Nova was my album of the year for 2022. I reviewed, dozens of albums, but there were also a lot of other albums that I listened to. And out of all of these, and there was fantastic stuff, like An Abstract Illusion, there was Geria, there was Wilderun, and Imperial Triumph, and Ziel en Ardor. And yet it was Nova who was my number one, because it throughout the entire year it was like company. And that's a very rare thing for me as well, and that really shows how powerful her music or music in general can be on a personal level. Some other stuff that I wrote down here about this lady. We actually didn't mention what her real name is. Her real name is Catherine Shepard. She's Norwegian, but also half American.
I think she grew up in America, is it?
I think she was born there.
Oh, born in,
and I think she probably spent some part of her childhood there. Well, I don't know that many details. She also spent a great deal of her professional career in France.
Mm-hmm.
She has also done projects with the aforementioned Alcest. She's actually on the album Kodama.
Yep.
You will hear her voice in a couple of songs.
I think it's Kodama itself, and
I think there's another one.
There are two.
I think, but
and on the latest, I think she is also on one song. I might be mistaken here, so don't.
Yeah, I would have to look.
I would definitely have to
look it up.
recheck.
And Nej, the big potato behind Alcest, he is also the drummer on two of her albums, on Wistful and on Atoms Aligned Coming Undone, so on number 2 and number 3. It was also quite cute to find out that on the first album, the drummer was her dad.
Oh, funny! I didn't know that. Okay, that's...
And she has kind of come fresh out of music school. She is actually a classically trained musician.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to music university, studied music science, but also recording, production, composing. She's very, very good with the guitar. She does play some other instruments. I think she might even play piano as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure here. And so when she recorded the first album, Silent Chambers, Noisy Hearts, a beautiful title for an album.
Yeah.
I think the album is maybe a bit too long for my taste, but it already was a nice introduction into what she was going to be.
It was way more ambient, I think.
Yes, definitely.
More all over the place, but not in a bad way, but...
The screams very sparse on that one, the screams were not as evolved as all the other records.
Let's say
as perfected. Yeah, it was something new for her to try, because she's actually a very shy person, and so for a very shy person to let out these kinds of screams requires a certain thing. It's a bit of overcoming. So.
Yeah, I think for songs to be written in that particular way or lyrically, you need to be an introvert, and for her, I mean that's.
We're just talking about, I think we're both introverts. I think everybody gets that idea by now. And they have another way of connecting with music.
Yeah. If, I mean, as you said, Alcest or Alcest Nej, he was, I think they are still doing stuff together, and hopefully they will collab a bit more, in my opinion. These two, or even these three, because there's another guy who I consider, even though that's totally out of the box now, but maybe Landloos as a band.
Mm-hmm.
There's a similarity as well. I mean, there's those three bands that I always try to associate together. First of all, the way they write music, and they all had each other on some record at one point at their career. So that and I think it shows for the way that they deliver lyrically, especially. In music, yes, music can be listened to. You don't necessarily have to read or understand the lyrics, but if both go together, and in that particular case, Nova is her best record by far for now. I hope that she's busy again, writing more things. Hopefully,
I hope so.
Yes. So, I mean, for those who don't know, Sylvaine should definitely check it out, or at least start. I think you need to start with Nova, since we have the opportunity now. And then if you get that whole thing, you can appreciate the older stuff a bit more, I would say.
Yeah, I would say, well, since Nova is her best record, of course that's the one I would recommend first, and then maybe the third album, and then kind of going back simply, chronologically.
Yeah.
Another very interesting thing about her, or each album, is that for certain songs, she chooses a title in a different language than English.
Oh, yeah.
So on the first album, she uses a Russian name. I will not try to pronounce it because I'll butcher it. Toska, something like that. On the second album, Wistful, she had Saudades, Portuguese. Again, yeah. I probably butchered that name. And I looked that term up, and it's one of those words that cannot be translated into another language. So I don't think there's an English word for it, but the English description would be that it's a form of melancholic longing or yearning for a person or a thing that is absent or that maybe was never there. So it's like a feeling of nostalgia, but what you're nostalgic about never really existed. And so I think Sylvaine has a great gift to kind of capture what an emotion feels like, and then writing a song exactly about that feels like the emotion. Mm-hmm. It's a rare skill.
Yeah, that's true. Because again, those who have not seen her, I mean, I have not seen her live. You are pretty lucky. You have seen her.
I have seen her.
And I think what I associate with that particular explanation and feeling of longing for something that you probably have never experienced, yet you know the feeling of not having it, in a way, would be, since now I have listened to Nova, there's this longing, the longing for, I need to see her live. I know it will be great, even though I have not experienced it. It's a similar, even though it's a bit cheesy as well, but I associate it with that, or like she can write certain songs, most of her songs, especially again on Nova, who you've never heard before, and then you straight away fall in love with them, and you have no idea why, and yet you associate, for example, some songs with certain things that you have experienced that she has not. So in a way, it's like a circle,
open for interpretation.
Yeah. It leaves a lot of room and a lot of speculation as well. For and as you said, it is quite a talent to achieve this. Not only writing stuff, but only making you, as a listener, asking yourself questions on, why am I feeling this now? Why do I have this yearning for stuff that I have not experienced or that has never been? It's a very powerful thing to...
Yeah. And it is hard to put that into music. So of course she has the angelic voice, she has the screams, and her guitars, there's always a certain kind of shimmer.
Fuzzy
shimmer, and like this ethereal atmosphere. The drums are usually very subtle. But they keep a nice rhythm, and there's a bit of a minimalistic but very effective approach to it. So you're not being bombarded with stuff, but it builds up gradually, and there are several layers to the music, but one listen is not enough. A second listen is not even enough. You'll discover more every time.
I think the more you listen to, let's say Nowhere, you listen to that several times, you will notice the guitar, and then you will try to understand the guitar, then you will try to get the drum approach on the second guitar, and then the more you listen to it, obviously it all comes together. And what I personally like about all this is because I'm a big shoegaze fan. I like those classic shoegaze UK bands, and even those modern shoegaze stuff that is very ethereal in any way and builds up layers of basically not much, but it is still there, and it fills up an empty space even though there's not much there, and it helps a lot with the writing of the song, and also with the complexity of the song, that it tries to let's say envelop you in a certain blanket. Let's just call it a blanket for now.
A
cozy blanket that is filled with minimalistic, as you said, minimalistic stuff. It is not technical at all, but it doesn't have to be. I think it is perfect as it is. The more you overproduce a song, chances are higher that it's maybe good, but you won't remember it. It's not outstanding as it is. And I think Nova is in its all an outstanding piece, because again, it is minimalistic without being empty. Even though that sounds very weird, but I think it makes sense. You know what I mean?
I know. I perfectly know what you mean. When I was writing my list of the best albums of 2022, finding which albums I should put in number, and further saying the top 10, that was pretty tough. Of course, there was Will Do Run in it.
Yeah.
Basically, those albums that resonated the most with me, and some of it was very technical, some of it is very fast, and some of it is very weird, like Imperial Triumphant on the list.
Yeah.
I had a White Ward, which is also a very emotional album, but it's a lot faster, it's a lot heavier. Then my number 2 was an Abstract Illusion. You guys talked also about that album quite a few times already, and you both had it on your top 10 list. And it's a complex album. There's so much happening, and it's very technical, great guitars. And yet all of that wasn't just, it didn't have that emotional connection, that very last thing that I needed from the music, and that only the cherry on top, or the cherry on top of the cherry, and that was the Nova, because it did that, even though it seems to offer less in terms of notes, in terms of sounds, in terms of layers, and etc., but yet there is that connection that no album could give me.
I know exactly what you mean. Even though I had it only number 4, but that's again a personal thing, and again, just a sneak peek. We are 2023 now, and I'm already struggling with my top 10.
Oh, yeah, so am I.
Together, so that will be a very, very difficult part. But I think again, we are July now, end of July, while recording this, and there's already so much going on, and the year is far from being over, and there's a lot to come. Sadly, no Sylvaine. But hopefully that's
maybe she'll tour. Maybe you'll get a chance to see. I saw her at the end of last year. I think it was in December. It was in Germany, in Neunkirchen. Neunkirchen. Well, it's a small town in the west of Germany. And I got there. It was a very small venue, and practically no one showed up. They were like maybe, together with the staff and with the people on stage and with the support band, maybe 30 people. So very cozy atmosphere, but yet everybody that was there wanted to be there. And there was still a very lovely show. And I also got the chance to speak to the band and speak to her as well. And they took their time to talk to me. We talked about Nova. We talked about the music in general. And very approachable people. Her live band is they're composed of good musicians. Has a good bass player. She has an excellent drummer. And there's a second guitarist. And they work very well together. So if you do get a chance to see her, please,
I will definitely try.
Do so.
I will definitely try. The only thing I saw, I mean, the live takes for, I think it was the Nova sessions, she called it, on YouTube. You have like several songs that they play live in a small studio. And what I really like if it is for Sylvaine or any other bands that do those very small venues with this kind of familiar feeling, and it's not, you can actually approach the band as you did, and you can actually talk to them, or even just stand there in awe and just question, why is there nobody here? But then if you think about it, as you said, it makes sense. Why, even though it's only 30 people, but those 30 people, they knew exactly what they were going for. Otherwise they would not be there. So I had a similar experience back in the days with okay, they were not headlining, but Neoblivis Caris played here in was it Kulturfabrik, I think? Yeah, I think it was Kulturfabrik in Esch sur Alzette, and there was hardly anyone in the room. So we stood in front, and they still gave it 100%. And I was like, how come this band is still so, I wouldn't say unpopular, but basically underappreciated.
And they came from all the way from Australia to play in an empty Kulturfabrik.
Yeah. But
that's commitment.
That's commitment. And luckily enough, I had the chance seeing them a few months ago in Cologne, and I like those two approaches in terms of concerts. Those very unique, familiarized, very small venues. The bigger concerts, honestly, I am probably the guy who will stand all at the back because I'm not too comfortable with an overcrowded place, as we might know by now. So,
but I like to choose the sides.
Yeah, the side is always good. You can lean on the wall and.
For our backs, our poor back, because we're old and we always have back pain.
Yes, that's a pity, but we all go through this phase anyway. But anyway, it was a completely different concert back in Cologne. The place was so crowded, and they gave it again 100%, similar than in Esch-sur-Alzette. So I was like, okay, at least they don't care if you're like 10 people or 150 people. They will still give 100%, and that's the way it should be, I think. But still, I prefer the smaller venues, to be fair. So I agree with that. I think we said quite a lot about Sylvaine. I suggest that all of you who have not heard anything of Sylvaine should at least try and convince your emotions and your heart to let something in. It will definitely trigger something. You don't know what, we don't know, but it will happen. Either now or later on. I think that's it for today. Thanks again for having joined
thank
today.
you.
You're most welcome. And we'll see you here again soon, I would say. So, people, enjoy music. Auf Wiedersehen. Bye-bye.